A few days ago, an announcement was made for the anime Gate 2, thus the JSDF Fought in Their Sea. This might have disappointed many who were waiting for a direct continuation of the Gate adaptation, only to receive a parallel story set in the same universe. Therefore, I've decided to create a series of videos recapping the entire plot of the light novel Gate, thus the JSDF Fought There, covering what should have come after the second part that aired in 2016. Prince Zorzal, having secured the support of his loyal troops, and the provocateur Tayul seizes power in the capital. He imprisons his sister, Princess Pina Colada, and all the senators who advocated for peace negotiations with Japan. An atmosphere of fear and repression descends upon the capital. In response to the escalating conflict and the direct threat to the lives of peace supporters, the Japanese government approves a decisive military operation. The goal is not to conquer the empire, but to rescue Princess Pina and the pro-Japanese politicians, which would allow for the resumption of peaceful dialogue. Itami, along with Rory Mercury, Lele Lalalena, and Tuca Luna Marceau, infiltrates the inner chambers of the palace. They engage in a direct confrontation with Zorzal and his guards, including a massive ogre. They manage to defeat their opponents and free the tormented Pina. At that same moment, a Japanese sniper shot demonstrates Zorzal's vulnerability, forcing him to back down from a direct confrontation with Itami. Realizing the complete failure of his defenses and the rapid advance of the JSDF, Zorzal, along with his closest followers, including Tayul, is forced to flee the capital. The story begins with the 3rd Reconnaissance Team of the Japan Self-Defense Forces, JSDF, including Master Sergeant Tomita and Sergeant First Class Kuribayashi, flying in a CH-47 Chinook helicopter over burning villages. Their mission is to track down and eliminate Prince Zorzal's partisan units, while also being forced to escort a camera crew led by reporter Komurasaki. The team disembarks in one of the villages and finds it full of corpses killed by swords and wild beasts. Using an infrared scanner, they try to find survivors but are unsuccessful due to interference from the fires. Soon they intercept a group of people in a wagon who identify themselves as merchants fleeing the fire. An inspection reveals that their merchant permit is fake and their swords bear fresh blood and the emblems of the Imperial Army. The merchants turn out to be Zorzal's partisans, who had been attacking villages in disguise to frame the men in green. In the wagon, the soldiers find a kidnapped and wounded cat girl named Kyushi. A captured partisan reports the approach of a pack of black hounds, dangerous beasts used by Zorzal's army. Soon, a whole horde of monsters, including ogres and black hounds, attacks the village. During the evacuation, the reporter Komurasaki, obsessed with getting a sensational story, forces his crew and their guards, Tomita, Nishina, and others, to take shelter in a dilapidated hut to film the battle up close. Inside, they find the body of the Harpy Taval, whom they had known before, and discover she is still alive. Despite Komurasaki's protests, Tomita organizes a rescue operation, calling in a helicopter to evacuate Taval through the roof. The hut is besieged, and the soldiers have to fight off monsters breaking through the walls while they evacuate everyone by rope. They manage to get airborne just moments before the hut collapses, and an arriving F-4 Phantom fighter jet incinerates the remaining monsters with napalm. Aboard the rescue helicopter, the saved girl Kyushi suddenly transforms into a giant and ferocious monster. This turns out to be the partisan's trump card, a shapeshifter they used as a Trojan horse. The monster wreaks havoc inside the helicopter, killing one of the camera crew members and nearly finishing off Komurasaki. The soldiers cannot use their weapons for fear of damaging the helicopter or hitting the pilots. Sergeant First Class Kuribayashi engages in a brutal hand-to-hand fight with the monster using her bayonet. During the fight, she wounds the monster by severing a nerve in its arm and tries to throw it out of the helicopter by tilting the aircraft. The plan almost fails and Kuribayashi herself nearly falls out, but Tomita manages to save her before shooting the monster with his pistol, causing it to fall to the ground. After the fight, Tomita carelessly says the phrase, "When this war is over, I'm getting married," which throws Kuribayashi and the rest of the team into a superstitious panic. They decide they urgently need to find Lieutenant Itami to have him break the death flag. The action moves to Italica, the new capital of the pro-peace faction of the Empire, where a shadow war against Zorzal's spies is underway. The JSDF has installed a modern surveillance system in the castle, allowing for the effective identification of enemy agents. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Itami, along with Pina, Rory, Lele, Tuka, Yao, and a group of Japanese scientists, travels to the remote region of Quanpui to investigate mysterious anomalies. They discover that the valley is filled with a mysterious black fog that kills all living things, and which the local gods call the Apocrypha. The scientists and Lele conclude that the gate, which artificially connects the two worlds, is causing spatial distortions that threaten to destroy both. The only way to stop this is to close the gate, which presents everyone with a complex political dilemma, as the JSDF forces are the only guarantee of the pro-peace faction's survival. The goddess Hardy grants Lalai the ability to open and close the gate, making her a key figure in this conflict. In parallel, the storyline of Prince Zorzal develops. He is trying to consolidate his power but faces setbacks in his guerrilla warfare and espionage. He does not suspect that his personal chef, Furuta, is a JSDF spy. To test the loyalty of the broken warrior slave Tayul, Furuta confesses to her that he is a spy. Tayul and her accomplices decide to use a captured Japanese man as bait at Fort Tanska to see if it was the truth. Furuta overhears their plan and relays the information to headquarters. Knowing it's a trap, JSDF Command decides to proceed with a rescue operation anyway. The only available aircraft for the evacuation is Itami's helicopter, returning from Quanpui. Itami's team changes course and heads for Fort Tanska, preparing for the upcoming battle. The action of Volume 8 begins immediately after the events of the 7th. At night, a JSDF Special Forces team, under the command of Major Izumo, infiltrates Fort Tanska to rescue the kidnapped Japanese man, Matsui Fuyuki. After disabling traps and breaching the palisade, they find the prisoner in a cage in the central square. To confirm his identity, Delilah, a rabbit warrior assigned to the team, wakes him with a blunt arrow shot, which, however, raises the alarm. The fort's commander, Goddesson, and his subordinates are thrown into confusion, and the special forces, realizing they are in a trap, use an unorthodox tactic. They take Goddesson himself hostage and demand an exchange. When the Imperial Oprichnik, political commissar, Dallas refuses to negotiate, Delilah cuts off Goddesson's finger to prove their seriousness. This leads to a conflict between the Oprichnik and Centurion Buros, who wants to save his commander. Taking advantage of the chaos, Izumo's team frees Matsui and fights its way to the extraction point, while Sniper Matoba eliminates the Oprichnik Dallas. They are picked up by a helicopter commanded by Itami, who was urgently redirected from another mission to conduct this risky evacuation. In parallel in Japan, the news of the Apocrypha and the instability of the gate sparks intense public and political debate. Reporter Kurabayashi Nanami, facing censorship, finds a way to publish the information through a blog, causing a huge public outcry. China tries to take advantage of the situation by forming a secret international coalition, Operation Red Flag Ginza, to pressure Japan into granting access to the gate. Meanwhile, 12-year-old Sherry Tooley arrives in Japan as the Empire's ambassador, having been granted the title of Countess. Demonstrating surprising diplomatic acumen, she uses her youth and apparent innocence to secure a peace treaty on terms favorable to the Empire. Japan agrees to provide military assistance in the fight against Zorzal, in exchange for significant territorial and resource concessions in the Arnis region. Following the treaty's ratification, the combined army of the JSDF and forces loyal to the Empire launches a full-scale offensive. The modern weaponry of the JSDF, aviation, tanks, and artillery, delivers devastating blows to Zorzal's troops, who suffer enormous losses and retreat in panic. Allied Imperial forces, transported by JSDF helicopters, engage in fierce battles, including in the air, where they face squadrons of wyverns. However, it soon becomes clear that all these battles are part of Zorzal's cunning plan. He used his main forces as a decoy to distract the Allies, while he, with a 10,000-strong elite army, secretly moved around them targeting the virtually defenseless new capital, Italica. Before the final assault, Zorzal reveals to Tiul that he knew about her plans for revenge from the very beginning and deliberately manipulated her, after which he hands her over to his henchmen to be torn apart. The volume ends with Zorzal's army approaching the walls of Italica as the city's few defenders march out onto an open field, preparing for a final, desperate battle. In the next videos, we will cover the following volumes. To make sure you don't miss it, subscribe to the channel and give it a like. Bye-bye.